All right, so my name is Calle Rosengren, and I'm going to talk to you about my company Färsking. I was supposed to be here with my co-founder Amanda, but she's currently in Denmark in a factory working on our next product, and she had to go there yesterday. So if I start to ramble a bit, it's because I haven't perfectly learned her parts yet. But so, a few years back, when I was in high school, I'm 21 years old by the way, we were doing a course in what's called young entrepreneurship that every kid in Sweden who studies economics goes through. So we were posed with the task to create a company for our school year. And we didn't really get very far, but we started asking a few questions. The health trend in Sweden is really big. In general, people talk about health all the time. But there is a part of that trend that hasn't really extended all the way to our children, our future. Now, Kostministeriet, right, just a moment ago talked about a lot of what needs to be done there, but if you look at the actual supermarkets, what kind of products are marketed towards kids, we started noticing some things. Especially, we posed some questions. Why are all the healthy food targeted towards adults? But maybe most importantly, why do we put cartoon characters on the very worst foods? So, when we went into the supermarkets, we saw two things. On the one hand, you had some healthy products, like actually quite good products, but they are quite stale, they're quite boring, and most of all, they're definitely made for adults, not for kids. On the other hand, you had fun cereals, right? They have cartoon characters, they're happy, there's milk splashing all over the place, but they have so much sugar and basically no nutritional value whatsoever. So what we set out to do back in 2014 was to create a product that had the fun from the fun products, but the health from the tasty, good products. So what we created was a product that we called Knasters Granola. We ourselves called ourselves Healthy Heroes, and we went all in on this. So actually it was quite simple. We just took the fun design and we put a healthy granola inside. And with this, you see, we stood in our superhero costumes. We really went for this. And in Sweden, with the youth entrepreneurship course, it's also a competition. So you compete against other kids your own age with your own companies, and with this we went to Stockholm to the national finals. So we had a pretty good year. We had a company and we had a product and we had an idea that we believed in, and it seemed like others did too. But what we were met with during the whole year was always a tone of, great work, this is a nice product, but you're 17 years old, you can't really do this. Which kind of pissed us off because none of the good companies were doing it. We have huge food companies in Sweden, but nobody's doing any healthy products, and if they won't do it, then who will? So we decided to keep going. So back in 2016, when we had graduated, so I did this in my second year, but we kept working for it for a year, but when we graduated back in 2016, we decided to try this out full time. So we founded our company, Healthy Heroes, and we started to pursue this. So there we were. We had no money, no contacts, and no real knowledge of the food industry. So maybe it wasn't completely unfounded that people were telling us that they didn't think we could do it. I mean, I get it. But we were still determined to deliver this better health. So what we went on from here is that we set out to redesign the product. I'm the designer of the company, so I redesigned the packaging. Amanda started to recreate a better recipe. And about 1 year after we graduated, we started pitching our product to local stores in Skåne, in the south of Sweden, where I'm from. And actually, exactly 1 year after our graduation, we launched in 10 stores in Skåne. But the path there was quite long. You see, we really didn't have any money. Like, all of our school year, we had been working with this, so we didn't have any money. So when we set out to create the granola, we called a lot of companies all over Europe saying, hey, we want to make a granola, can you help us? And they were like, yeah, sure, how many tons of granola do you want? And I was like, yeah, maybe 50 kilos. But so we had to build our own kind of process chain, right? So eventually we found a bakery in Landskrona who, the baker there, Tony, he had never made granola, right? He used to make bread and pastries and stuff, but we knew granola. We had been baking granola for 2 years, so we knew granola. We taught him to bake granola, but then we were met with one huge issue. He didn't know how to pack it. So we had to find a partner in Bjuv who could pack it, but they could only pack the plastic box, the plastic that's inside of the box. So then we were there with 1,500 plastic bags of granola. We said, we can't sell this. So we had to find a partner in Allerum, another part of Skåne, who could make the cartons, but they couldn't fill them. So it all ended up with us standing in our warehouse in Båstad with family and friends and packing every single package on our own. So, it was a bit like Santa's workshop where somebody's just opening boxes, somebody's just filling them and standing there for hours on end. That's my mother, by the way. Very happy helping us. We, as I said, didn't have any money, so they got some coffee and pastries, and that's the gratitude we had to give them. But that was a really long journey, and the summer that followed, when we launched in these 10 stores, was a very different summer. So we stood around in all the 10 stores, dressed in our super costumes, to let people taste the product. But we also, since it was only the two of us, we drove ourselves to the stores to reshelf. We had to run around in the neighborhoods putting posters or flyers in people's mailboxes. And we built the displays and everything. This was actually a display before we had any design on it, so it's just white. But we really learned a lot from that. And mainly it was two things. It was that, I'm not that old, I'm just 21 years old, but the kids that are 10 to 12 years old today are a lot cooler than I was 10 years ago. So I used to come home and I used to watch cartoons, and I would eat cereal like the Cocoa Pops that I showed you earlier. That was fine, that was cool. But the kids of today, they don't even have to go home to have their content because they follow influencers who are between 20 and 30 years old all the time. So our design was way too childish. They weren't interested. They looked at their younger siblings who were like 5 years old and said, "Yeah, you could have that. I'm not interested. I don't care." And then we had the parents. You see, our question that we posed was that there are no healthy products that look like this. They knew that. I don't know why we didn't realize it, but they knew that. So they didn't trust our product. It didn't matter how much we tried to convince people. We tried to really type it out on the packaging, but it didn't matter. So we actually had a mother who came up to us one day when we were standing in our super suits, who came up to her face and said, "No, you're lying to me." She was so pissed off. And she said, "You say that this has no sugar, this has no fiber. What's the bullshit? What do you have in it?" And so we had to convince her. It took 5 minutes, and she walked away with two cartons, but we can't do that to every customer when we are not in the store. So we knew that we had to have a different approach. But this wasn't gonna cut it anymore. But the biggest positive for us is that if the kids of today look up to people who are between 20 and 30 years old, we were like, well, hey, that's us. We know that market, right? So if they want to do things that people of my age do, then we will create a brand that we understand and that we love and that we want to pursue. So that was about a year and a half ago. And that was the brand, that was the start of what is now Färsking. Färsking is Swedish for rookie. It's almost in a derogatory way, but we decided that we want to put that on our chests instead because we are not from the industry. We don't have the cynicism and we don't have all of the negatives that come when you've been 20 years in the FMCG product, like making products that are actually really, really bad. So we decided to really push that, and in that process we met some investors, we got some help, and we met with both ICA and Axfood, the two biggest retailers in Sweden, just about a year ago. So in August last year, we launched in over 450 stores, and so now we're all over Sweden. It's been a while since then, so we're actually in over 850 stores right now, but now we finally feel like we can start making a difference. We can finally have the necessary parts to start making a difference for young adults. So one of the biggest things that we changed since then was also that we started to focus, instead of just focusing on the young adults, we started to expand a bit. Because we feel like health in itself is more than just the additives and added sugars, and we summarize this as no junk, just funk. That's our core, that's our entire ambition. And right now, that's about food stuff, because that's a quite big challenge on its own. But we want to work with health and young people in general, because we feel like when you get to have the best possible, when you feel good, when you have a good mind, you have a good physical health, and you eat the right things, then you naturally start to look at the environment around you. You want to make the world a better place. And when you're as young as we are, you're naive and you think that, well, I can change that. It doesn't have to be that way. Why is it like that? I'll just change it. I don't know. That's why we want to work with young people in general. It's been a very long journey. I think some of the main points that has been the core for us has been that it's a lot about just getting started. When we started our company in 2016, we had no idea what we're doing. I mean, a lot of the time I still don't know what I'm doing, but it's about just getting started. Like when we sat there in 2016, we had just founded our company, we had just graduated. It had been a few days, like, setting everything up. And then we sat there and we were like, okay, what do we do now? We didn't have any teachers anymore, so we didn't know what to do. But we knew that we wanted to launch a product, right? And we knew that we needed to have granola that was baked somewhere, because we didn't want to bake it ourselves anymore. And that's one of the things that changed as well. We're not having this very weird, we don't package it ourselves, we bake it in Denmark now. And then one of the most key things, because during this time, there have been a few events and happenings that have really changed the trajectory of our entire journey. For example, in 2017, we were at an event pitching, and ahead of that event, it was an industry meets investors kind of event. They had a pitch training day, and they said that, yeah, you can come and you can learn, and naturally from the school that we were taught in Helsingborg, we have got a lot of focus on presentations. So we were super nervous about it, and we were really ahead. And that meant that when we got to that event, we were actually the only ones who kept ourselves within the time frame of the pitch. And thanks to that, we were sent to another event in Stockholm. And on that event in Stockholm, I met my first investor. And with him, he was like, oh, well, can you have a meeting tomorrow? And a lot of that it can seem like a lucky string of events, but the key here is that when I've looked back at it, and I've really thought about it, because it's confusing at times when you look back and you think, why me? Why did that happen? Why am I just lucky? But at the same time, it's a lot of work goes into understanding your business, your brand, and your purpose. Because that's what we had been working with so much for the 3 years that led up to that time, was just, why are we doing this? What is our goal? What is the business? What are we actually good at? What do we want with it? So that when the time came to introduce other people to our business, we could do it in a heartbeat. And so yeah, it was luck that I met him, but if I hadn't been prepared, nothing would have happened with it. And then I think the biggest thing for us has been keeping our cool and being persistent. We have been wanting to quit so many times. I mean, I can't keep count. And there have been so many times where things have been really shit. Like, I've had days where in the morning we've had people who are saying to us that they want to invest a lot of money, but by the end of the day, nobody wants it to. So a lot of that has been just keep going to work every single day, even if you don't know what's going to be happening. So yeah, that's been a lot of our journey right now. Right now we're going to be launching a third flavor. So we have 2 flavors in a lot of stores. We're launching in a third major retailer in August, I think, and we have another big product. So we hope that right now we are in the beginning of a journey. I mean, it's been almost 5 years, but we still feel like we're in the beginning. This is Amanda and me, and we have these 2 flavors. We're having a third flavor, and we have a completely new category I think is going to be super exciting for almost everybody in here as well. I can't talk about it yet, and it's so frustrating. But right now we're at the start of a movement to create better health for youth. and we hope that you want to be a part of the journey. I've been Kalle, and I thank you for your time.